What really drives us? Deep down, what are those core desires, and what does it actually take to feel truly fulfilled? It often feels way more complicated than maybe it is, but the answer might just be hiding in, well, a pyramid of needs. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into one of psychology's most famous ideas, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this isn't just theory for academics. It's actually a really powerful way to understand yourself, understand others better. It could genuinely change how you look at everything, from like daily habits to those big life goals. We're going to unpack this framework, see how our basic human needs sort of build the path towards a life with purpose and, well, real well-being.
It's quite something, isn't it? How one idea can kind of shift an entire field. Because before Abraham Maslow, a lot of psychology, you think about Freud, Skinner, the big names, and it often focused on pathology. What goes wrong with people?
Yeah.
Disorders, dysfunctions.
Right. It was all about fixing problems, fixing what seemed broken. But Maslow, this American psychologist, he saw things differently. I read his own childhood was quite unhappy, lonely even. Did that shape his thinking?
Oh, almost certainly. That personal experience likely gave him this deep empathy, and it probably led him to ask, well, what helps people thrive? Not just survive, but thrive. And that curiosity pushed him to become one of the founders of humanistic psychology, shifting the focus from illness to health, from dysfunction to actually achieving fulfillment. He had this real belief in our potential.
That sounds like a pretty radical idea for its time.
Oh.
He first put this theory out there in a paper at 43, A Theory of Human Motivation, right? And then later in his book, Motivation and Personality. The core idea is that our needs aren't just random. They're arranged in a kind of hierarchy. One need often has to be dealt with before another really grabs our attention. He said man is a perpetually wanting animal.
Precisely. It's like building a house. You need that solid foundation before you put up the walls, right? And the walls need to be there before you can even think about the roof. The pyramid shows just that. The lower levels generally need to be substantially met before the higher needs really become the main drivers, the main motivators.
Substantially met.
Yeah.
That sounds important. It's not like you have to have 100% of one level sorted before moving on.
Exactly. That's a really common misunderstanding. It's not this rigid step-by-step all-or-nothing ladder. Maslow himself pointed out people are often, partially satisfied and partially unsatisfied across all levels at the same time. He even threw out some percentages, like maybe someone's 85% satisfied physiologically, 70% safety, 50% love, and so on. It's more of a gradual emergence.
Okay, let's start at the bottom then, the foundation. Physiological needs. These are the absolute basics for survival, aren't they? We're talking food, water, shelter, clothes, sleep, just breathing, keeping our bodies stable, homeostasis, right?
Yeah.
And even sexual reproduction, for the species anyway.
Yeah, the non-negotiables. And when these are seriously lacking, they just take over everything. Maslow used this really vivid example of an extremely and dangerously hungry man. For that person, nothing else matters. Food is all they think about, dream about, feel about. Their whole view of a perfect future utopia is just a place with enough food. And you don't need to be starving to see this. Think about how just being a bit sleep deprived or, not eating well can hijack your focus. It shows how these basic needs really operate, often under the surface.
It really does. It makes you realize how crucial that foundation is for, well, everything else, mental health, physical health. If you've ever been really hungry or exhausted, you know that feeling. Nothing else matters. And for you listening, maybe a good moment to pause and think, are your basic habits actually supporting you? Or are they creating this kind of low-level drag on everything? Okay, so once those physiological needs are, let's say, relatively sorted, we move up to level 2, safety needs. This is all about feeling secure, stable, free from fear. Not just physical safety, but also things like financial security, a steady job, savings, and health security too.
You see these needs really clearly in kids. Infants get distressed by loud noises, rough handling. They crave routine, predictability. When things are inconsistent, or if there's injustice, it makes a child feel anxious, unsafe. Not just about the event itself, but it shakes their sense of a reliable world. That need for order is deep.
And for adults. In a, stable society, we might not think about these needs much day to day. They're kind of met. Until they're not. An emergency hits, natural disaster, job loss, a health scare, and boom, safety needs are front and center. We see it too in just wanting a stable job, saving money, having insurance. That's all safety needs.
Maslow also noted something interesting, that sometimes people feeling profoundly insecure might look for a really strong protector, even a sort of authoritarian figure. It shows that powerful, sometimes unconscious, drive for external security when internal security feels shaky.
Okay, moving up again. If physiological and safety needs are reasonably handled, the next layer emerges. Love and belonging needs. This is about connection, right? Affection, feeling like you're part of a group. Friendships, romance, family, community.
Yes, that's social connection. And Maslow really emphasized this one. He said that frustration of these needs is, and I quote, the most commonly found core in cases of maladjustment and more severe psychopathology.
Wow, that's strong. And modern science backs that up, doesn't it?
Right.
Loneliness, social isolation, they could be as bad for your physical health as smoking every day. Higher risk of heart disease, stroke.
It's serious.
Absolutely serious. It shows how fundamental connection is. And Maslow was careful to distinguish love from just sex. He said sexual behavior is complex, often driven by multiple needs, but true love, needing love and affection, is distinct. And it's about both giving and receiving love. That reciprocity is key for deep connection.
Makes sense. So, after love and belonging, we get to the fourth level, esteem needs. What's involved here?
This is about wanting respect, both self-respect, feeling confident, independent, and respect from others. So things like reputation, status, recognition, appreciation.
So two sides to it. How you see yourself and how others see you. Exactly. And when these needs are met, you feel self-confident, capable, worthy, like you're making a useful contribution. But if they're thwarted, it leads to feelings of inferiority, weakness, helplessness. Think about work, for example. Getting recognition for your skills isn't just about ego. It's about feeling valued, respected. That deeply impacts your engagement, your overall sense of well-being there.
Right. And then at the very top of that original 5-tier pyramid, we reach self-actualization needs. This sounds like the ultimate goal.
It's about realizing your full potential. Becoming, as Maslow put it, everything that one is capable of becoming. It's that drive to be the best version of yourself. He famously said, what a man can be, he must be.
But it looks different for everyone, right? It's not just about being like a famous artist or inventor.
Not at all. That's a key point. It's incredibly varied. For one person, it might be being the best parent they can be. For another, it's athletic excellence. For someone else, yeah, it might be art or invention. It's not necessarily about creativity in the artistic sense, though it often takes that form if someone has those talents. It's about fulfilling your unique potential.
But crucially, reaching this peak depends on the lower levels being reasonably stable. You said the clear emergence of these needs rests upon prior satisfaction of the physiological, safety, love, and esteem needs.
Precisely. It's hard to focus on becoming your best self if you're constantly worried about basic survival, feeling unsafe, disconnected, or worthless. The foundation needs to be relatively solid.
Now, we mentioned earlier it's not always a strict ladder. Maslow himself said the hierarchy is not nearly as rigid as we may have implied. What are some of those exceptions or flexibilities?
Right. He acknowledged nuances. For example, some people might prioritize esteem over love. Maybe they seek power or achievement as a way to feel worthy of love. Or think about highly creative people. Sometimes that drive to create seems to push through despite a lack of basic security or comfort. Artists creating masterpieces while living in poverty, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Then there's the idea that someone who's been deprived for a very long time, say chronically unemployed, might lower their sights permanently. They might feel satisfied just having enough food, even if higher needs aren't met. Their aspirations adapt downwards.
That's quite sobering. What about the other way around? You mentioned increased frustration tolerance through early gratification. What's that about?
Yes. That's about resilience. Maslow suggested that people whose basic needs were consistently met, especially early on, tend to develop a stronger, healthier character. This inner security allows them to withstand difficulties later in life better. They might be the ones who can, say, give up a secure job for a principal, even risking hardship, because they have this fundamental sense of strength built early on.
Interesting. And we should also remember, a lot of this motivation operates unconsciously, right? We might not even be aware of the need driving us.
Very often, yes. Though self-reflection or therapy can bring them more into awareness. And while the basic needs themselves seem pretty universal across cultures, how they show up, how they're prioritized, that can definitely vary.
Like individual achievement versus community well-being.
Exactly. In more collectivist societies, belonging or contributing to the group might genuinely feel more important than individual self-actualization in the Western sense. Also, most behaviors aren't driven by just one need. Usually it's a mix. Eating might satisfy hunger, but also a need for comfort or social connection if you're eating with others. It's multi-motivated. And not all behavior is need-driven anyway. Some is just expressive, like smiling when you're happy, even if no one's watching.
Okay, so the original pyramid had 5 levels, but you mentioned Maslow later expanded on it, added more levels above self-actualization.
He did. he felt the original model wasn't quite complete. First, he added cognitive needs. This is our innate drive to know, to learn, to understand, to be curious, explore ideas. People can pursue knowledge just for its own sake, sometimes at great cost.
The need to figure things out. Okay.
What else?
Then came aesthetic needs. This is about appreciating beauty, symmetry, balance, form, finding beauty in art, nature, music, that yearning for order and harmony.
Right. And then the ultimate peak.
That's transcendence needs. This is a big shift. It moves beyond focus on the self. It's about connecting to something larger than yourself, helping others, dedicating yourself to a cause, seeking spiritual experiences, feeling part of the universe. It involves peak experiences, moments of awe or deep connection. And striving for this, contributing beyond yourself, can actually boost resilience and lead to a deeper sense of peace and purpose.
So with these additions, we can kind of group the needs.
Yeah.
The bottom three, physiological, safety, love, belonging, are often called deficiency needs, right? They spring from a lack of something. Correct. They arise from deprivation. And the higher levels, esteem, self-actualization, cognitive, aesthetic, transcendence, are seen as growth needs. They come from a desire to grow, to develop, to fulfill potential, not just fill a gap.
And understanding that difference seems key for managing our own energy and avoiding burnout. Trying to chase those growth needs when your deficiency needs are screaming for attention, that sounds exhausting.
It really is. You need that solid base. It's like trying to build the second floor when the foundation is crumbling. Meeting those deficiency needs first creates the stability for real growth.
So how can we apply this understanding, practically speaking, in our own lives?
Well, for personal well-being, it starts with honest self-reflection. Are you actually meeting your basic needs? Enough sleep, good food, feeling safe? Then look at connection. Are you nurturing relationships? Maybe joining a group, volunteering. Simple things like mindfulness can help with inner stability. Even getting a pet can meet belonging. Studies show it.
And we see businesses using this too, don't we?
Good ones do. They think beyond the paycheck. Providing a comfortable, safe workplace, physiological safety, fostering teamwork, belonging, giving recognition, esteem, offering opportunities for growth and challenge, self-actualization. It boosts morale, engagement, everything.
Makes sense in education too. Teachers need to make sure kids feel safe and fed before they can really learn effectively.
Absolutely. Create that safe, supportive classroom, safety, belonging, build kids' confidence with positive feedback, esteem, encourage their curiosity and creativity, cognitive self-actualization, it's holistic development.
Even marketers tap into this, knowing what needs drive us.
Right.
Selling a car by highlighting safety features for a family, or maybe selling luxury goods by appealing to esteem or even self-expression.
Definitely. It's a powerful framework. But like any influential theory, it's also faced criticism. It's important we touch on that too.
Right. What are the main critiques?
Well, probably the biggest one is the lack of solid proof for that strict step-by-step hierarchy. Research hasn't consistently shown you must fully satisfy level 1 before level 2 kicks in. Life's often messier. We see people pursuing higher goals even amidst hardship, as you mentioned. Maslow himself admitted it was more flexible than the simple pyramid suggests.
Okay, what else?
There's the point about cultural bias. Is that strong focus on individual self-actualization really universal? Or does it reflect more Western individualistic values? In many cultures, community harmony or fulfilling social roles might be prioritized much higher than individual potential in the way Maslow described it.
That seems fair. It might not translate perfectly everywhere.
And some argue it oversimplifies motivation. Human behavior incredibly complex, driven by loads of factors interacting. Trying to measure when a need is satisfied is also really tricky. And more recently, there have been discussions, critiques suggesting Maslow might have been influenced by indigenous knowledge systems, like from the Blackfoot Nation, without fully crediting those sources in his early work. That's an ongoing conversation worth acknowledging.
So, valid points to consider.
Yeah.
But despite the critiques,
its impact is huge and lasting. Maslow's work really was part of a major positive shift in psychology. It moved the focus towards health, growth, potential, the positive side of human nature.
it gave us a language, a framework for talking about well-being and fulfillment in a more constructive way.
Exactly. It remains a really valuable tool for self-understanding, for thinking about what motivates us, what we need, not just to survive, but to truly live a meaningful life. It encourages us to look upwards beyond just fixing problems.
So wrapping up, Maslow's hierarchy, whether the original 5 tiers or the expanded version, gives us this incredibly useful lens. A way to see what drives us from basic survival right up to connecting with something bigger than ourselves.
It reminds us that well-being is built layer by layer from the ground up, but also that our potential for growth, connection, and making a difference, it reaches really high.
And here's something to mull over. Maslow suggested that if someone's basic needs are fundamentally blocked, they could be seen as psychologically sick. And if that blockage often comes from forces outside the individual, like poverty, discrimination, lack of opportunity, well, what does that say about the responsibility of our society, our communities, to help create conditions where everyone has a fair shot at meeting those needs, at flourishing, maybe even reaching towards that self-transcendence?
It's a powerful question. We encourage you to think about where you feel you are on this hierarchy right now. What needs feel most pressing for you? And how might understanding this framework maybe shift how you approach your own life and how you connect with the world around you?